Welcome to a new video of Tradomics, a focus on 5 US fintech stocks. So let's start immediately with Mastercard. So as for the last analysis published, we were foreseeing a prosecution of the rally as for the arrows here, because this upward T plus 5 yearly cycle is positive, and therefore we are expecting to achieve all new times high within a duration of 119 to 330 days from the top that was made on the 21st of March 2024. This means that as for the Friday's candle, so last week's candle, we have achieved a duration of 181 bars, so 181 days. Therefore, we are expecting to achieve all-time highs um, at least within a duration of 190 days, so therefore 19th of December. So we have still time till 19th of December at least to proceed to the upside and achieve all-time highs. But of course, this is just the beginning, because we can also stretch the duration until a median duration, which is roughly 250 days, and up to a maximum duration 338 days. So just to give you an idea, what we can also achieve is a median duration 250 days roughly. Okay, 255, let's say. So 255 means that we can proceed to the rally until end of March 2025. And you can imagine that if we stretch the duration up to 338 days, we can go even beyond summertime. But let's stick a little bit more to the short term. So from this top here, we were not excluding the possibility that there was not just a T plus 2, but even a T plus 3. T plus 3 means it's a cycle of 3 months duration, and 3 months duration means that we have a duration between 48 to 89 days. If we gauge the total duration from that top here, we have 53 days. So basically, we are already in a duration that is even more than a minimum duration of a T plus 3. Hence, we can update the chart by um, marking this top as a T plus 3 upward cycle. Okay, so this T plus 3 upward cycle has achieved 53 days, and from this top um, to here, we have at potentially the closing of a T plus 2 upward cycle. Okay, and also here we have potentially the beginning of a new T plus 2 upward cycle. So um, we have it because both in this case we have at 8 days, so a duration of a weekly cycle that is lower to the stop, but also in this case we have the same situation. So here we need to be a little bit careful on which top we are considering eventually the T plus 2. So because I try always to be conservative, so I would sign the T plus 2 top here on this candle on the Monday 21 of October 2024. Um, Given that this is positive because this T plus 3 is positive and because this T plus 5 is positive, what I can expect for next week, but also the other weeks to come. So in the next weeks, let's say until mid of end of December, because then we have to complete our T plus 5 that is that can achieve the minimum duration by mid of December. So the forecast is to continue to the upside and continue the rally until at least, as I said, mid of December, if not more. Okay. We have also the confirmation of this by looking at the downward cycles here, because here after 71 days, we can mark this low as a T plus 3. So therefore, here we are on the second T plus 3 downward cycle. Therefore, we expect a certain strength to continue this cycle, and T plus 3 means that um, this is a first T plus 3 and this is the second T plus 3. So prosecution of the rally, and if we mark also the other cycles here, on this low we have at potentially the beginning of a T plus 1, even if we might have also the same condition here after 13 days. Okay, so let's mark also this. I leave it in the middle because either on this or on this we can have the T plus 1. We will see in the next days whether this low will be confirmed as a T plus 1. And in order to be confirmed, we need to go over the stop. Okay, but what I can expect is more trend to the upside until at least, as said, mid of December. Okay, so that's the situation we have on Mastercard, and now let's move to the competitor, which is Visa. On Visa, we had prosecution of the rally. We have had this little retracement here. And now if we gauge the total duration from this low made on the Friday, 26th of July 2024, we have a total duration of 65 days. So I would tend to consider this low potentially as the beginning of a T plus 3 upward cycle, because if we gauge the duration from this T plus 2 and we do not consider this low but another low here, like for example this one, here we don't have enough time to say this is a T plus 2, it's just few bars. So if we gauge also the duration to that low, we have potentially we have 83 bars, but this closing is not really enough to say this is a T plus 3. Okay, because in order to close a T plus 3, we would need a little bit more retracement, okay, and a little bit more bars. So um, here the segmentation is first a T plus 2 plus a T plus 1 of 22 bars, and therefore we have T plus 3. So 3 months downward cycle that was that started on the um, 25th of October 2024. Now we remove the arrows, and the expectation here is to do what? So the expectation as for Mastercard is to continue the rally. To continue the rally, because that was a T plus 2. I didn't mark with the color coding T plus 2 because I was expecting even something more. So 59 days, this is where the T plus 3 upward cycle ended. And now we have another upward cycle that's turned into a positive one. This turned into a positive one because this T plus 4 is positive, as well as this T plus 5 is positive. Okay, so this one I can mark as a T plus 3. Okay, and therefore we are on the second T plus 3 of this T plus 4. This T plus 3 has reached a duration of 53 bars as for Mastercard. So here we have already the minimum duration to close a T plus 3, and then eventually start either a new T plus 3 or a T plus 4, or we have still time to proceed to the upside. Okay. The difference between Visa and Mastercard is that on Visa, we are a little bit more stretched in time, because here we have a T plus 5 that began in September 2023. And if we make the calculation, here we have 307 days. So 307 days is approaching a maximum duration of T plus 5, 338 days. This means that, of course, we have time to proceed to the upside, but we have also to bear in mind that we have 38 possibilities out of 300 that this is going to happen. And the rest is more towards the downside. This is just pure math, okay? Even if for making the right calculation, you have to subtract 338 minus 190 and then subtract the difference to come to 307. So this would be roughly less than 20% to proceed to the upside and then the rest to the downside. But of course, we have also to consider eventual time extensions like Bayer tongues. And so far, we don't have, from a chart perspective, signs of reversal. Okay, so that's the first thing. The other thing is that we have a really strong trend, and therefore here from this um, from this top um, to other tops, we haven't had yet the beginning of a T plus 2. Potentially here we have the beginning of a T plus 2 after 29 bars, okay? Because here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 candles. But of course, this is not too much to say that this is a T plus 2. So let's put here eventually a question mark whether this top will begin from that top will begin at T plus 2. But this is something that we will need to to watch over time. Okay. So here we have more. We are more stretching time, but still there is room to proceed to the upside. The trend is still strong. Be careful that if we not, if for the next week we do not come back here, potentially here we have the beginning of a retracement, and the beginning of that retracement can allow also to close what a downward cycle, which is a T plus 2 that at the moment has reached 30 bars. Okay, so here on Visa we have some more forces to the downside eventually if they wanted to close it like this thing will be invalidated if next week we will return back to the stop absolute tops at $317.42. So that's the situation we have on Visa. And now let's move to PayPal. So on PayPal, as for the last analysis issued, here we were forcing a retracement because we were stretched in time for a downward cycle perspective. And hence here we have had, with this candle on the 31st of October, no, that's first, the 1st of November, the closing of a T plus 3 downward cycle, okay? This one. So now we can update the chart. The second thing that I was flagging up was that we were a little bit, or we still are, stretching time. So we were also foreseeing more retracement for eventually the beginning of a T plus 5. This did not happen because with this top we have reached 314 days. So there was of course time to proceed because here the maximum duration is 338 days. But now if we gauge the duration, here we have 341 that's even more, 342 bars. So here, given that we are over 338 days, means that we are in an extra time. We are in an extra time for a Bayer tongues, and this Bayer tongue can be a T plus 2, but not just a T plus 2. It can be also something more than a T plus 2, because PayPal is coming from a harsh downtrend, okay, that started, well, started at 300, so here at $303, and we have had one yearly upward cycle, second yearly upward cycle, and we are on the third yearly upward cycle. This means that we might have a Bayer tongue that is connected multiple pluri-yearly cycles. So therefore, for a 3-year cycle, we can have an extension that is a t plus 4. So a t plus 4 is encompassed between two t plus 7. So here we still have room to proceed to the upside. But you have also to bear in mind that we might have a Bayer tongue, okay? We might have a Bayer tongue that potentially has started from this top here, even if here we don't have really a t plus 4 because we don't have enough bars below a top. So here eventually we have just a t plus 2. Okay, so time will tell. Here we have a t plus 2, but we have to figure it out whether this is a Bayer tongue or not. So the next weeks will be key to understand if we are on a Bayer tongue or not. And unfortunately, Bayer tongue cannot be foreseen. So we need to be careful. The trend is really strong. Another thing that I have to mention is that given that now, especially from this low, on Monday, 29th of July 24, we have a strong trend. We could also not start at T plus 5, but eventually T plus 4 altogether. Okay. Every time we touch the moving average 21 period, we are going up. Then retracement. Then we touch moving average 21 period. Bam, back up again. This was the same here with the moving average 50 period. This was a cycle that was a wider one, boom, back up again. So this means that we have an healthy trend in place. There are no sign of reversals. So I'm not gonna give any recommendation here, but if you wanna really to go short, then you have to wait. You have to wait that red candle is starting going below this first swing and this second swing, because otherwise here the tendency also with volumes is definitely to the upside. We are stretching time, but we might have a Bayer tongue, and we might also have especially when the trend is really strong, we might also have not the possibility to start a T plus 5, meaning that we do not have time to proceed to the downside to start a U like this and going back up again and having more than 48 days below our top, but we might have a cycle of a degree less that is turning positive really quick, so that the rally can continue furthermore. Okay, so that's the situation we have. Here, from a downward cycle perspective, this low can be signed as a T plus 1. So I put a T plus 1 here. And another thing is that from this beginning of a T plus 5, now we have a total duration of 280 bars. Okay, so here from a downward cycle perspective, we have more time to proceed to the upside and then have the tail to close the T plus 5. Okay, so from the upward cycle perspective, less time. From downward cycle perspective, more time to do whatever they want. But this video is to make you aware that time wise, you have to start to really be careful, either both with short position because there is no sign of reversal, but also with long position. Okay, so having said that, we move to the next one. On Discover Financial Services, we have pretty much a similar situation as for PayPal. Here from this top, we were expecting a retracement. This retracement allowed it to close a T plus 3. So here we can update the chart. Here we have the closing of a T plus 3 after 56 days. So we can update this now. And eventually from this top here, we can also, given that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars, we can eventually mark the beginning of a T plus 2, even if here we have 46 days. Even if we can also consider this one the beginning of a T plus 2. In this case, this would be an hybrid cycle because we have 46 days, and 46 days is a T plus 2 hybrid cycle, so between a T plus 2 and a T plus 3. So I would update the chart as following. Doesn't really matter whether this is a T plus 2 or not, because now our checkpoint is this. Our checkpoint is this candle. Here for a matter of completeness, I put T plus 2 with a question mark. Now, the focus here is this high. This high was marked at $187.50. Okay, now if we gauge the total duration from the T plus 5 upward cycle that was done on the 19th of July 2023, up to here we have 329 bars. 329 bars is basically close to a maximum duration of a T plus 5 without considering T plus 5 hybrid cycle and without considering Bayes tongues. But here, compared to PayPal, we haven't updated the all-time high. Okay, so this top has not been broken up yet, and here we have already let's see how many bars. Here we have already 21 bars, so it's roughly a month, so from the 9th of November until 6th of December, that we are not updating the all-time highs. Okay, so that's the difference. This means from a cycle perspective that from this top we have already something that is more a weekly upward cycle, but it's a T plus. Now it's a T plus, it's even a T plus 3 upward cycle. And let's put it a question mark. So from this top, if we will not break this top in the next weeks, here potentially we might have the beginning of something that can be a T plus 5 eventually. This is something that needs to be confirmed over the next weeks. But if we start seeing a cycle like this, and especially this will be our second checkpoint at $168.76, then we will have to be careful because from this top we might have the beginning of a T plus 5, and we will have also the condition to close this T plus 5 downward cycle. Okay, this T plus 5 downward cycle has reached a duration of 280 days. So the tail to close the T plus 5 can be developed up to 338 days, which means that the tail can be developed by beginning of March 2025. Okay, so here they have a time to do whatever they want from a downward cycle perspective, even if we start looking at the sub-cycle through the Matryoshka effect, here we have 163 days. Okay, so 163 days is approaching the maximum duration of a T plus 4. Therefore, I would think that this might be also T plus 3, T plus 3, T plus 3, and so on, because if we don't have an arch push to the downside, we cannot close at T plus 4, because here, sorry, here we didn't have really the the condition to close a T+4 like this. So either they start moving further down quite quickly, or otherwise this one needs to be considered as a T+3 and not a T+4. So in any case, as I said, this is our checkpoint. If we are getting back next week to this stop, then prosecution to the rally through an extension, time extension as a Bayer tongue, or we have to consider this as the continuation of another upward cycle that is positive, it is not that potentially is not even linked to this T+5. Otherwise, we start the retracement, okay, like this. In any case, as I said, for PayPal, here we need to be careful to manage the long position, especially for the short term, okay. Now let's move to last but not least, we have block. So here we had the prosecution of the rally, and this rally broke up this high that was done on the 13th of March 2024, and now the time has reached a duration of 187 bars or days. So we are approaching the minimum duration. We still need 3 days to approach the minimum duration. Therefore, here we can definitely put an arrow that is heading towards the upside, because we can continue at least for 3 days. But as I said, also for the other stocks, Visa, Mastercard, etc., their rally can also go beyond 190 days. So 250 days, it's median duration 11 of March 2025. Okay. In any case, prosecution of the rally for the next week, minimum. Here, from the downward cycle perspective, we have closed a T+2 after 26 days, which is not even a T+2, but it's a T+3. Here we have really clearly the number of bars that needs to happen to close a T+3. Therefore, here we put a T+3. And as for the other stocks here, we are on a downward cycle, yearly downward cycle that has reached a duration of 280 days. So still room to proceed to the upside, but by March, at most, by March 2025, we have to complete what? The tail to close the T+5. Okay. Now, the tail can be either like this, so a cycle that is slightly negative, or a tail can be done like this. Of course, we cannot, we don't have a crystal ball, so we cannot forecast the intensity, or let's say the strength in which the downtrend will happen in order to close the tail, okay, either like this or like this. But during the uptrend, there will be some swings, like for example in this case this one at $88.20. Then we will use as a checkpoint in order to understand how much the strength of the downtrend will be. At the moment, this has not happened. So over the short term, prosecution to the rally at least until Wednesday next week, but that we will reach just a minimum duration, so potentially even by end of the month. After December, so starting from January, then we will need to be careful, and we have to potentially expect further retracement to close the T+5, but also potentially to begin other cycles, upward cycles. Here we have So here we are out of the T plus 3, either cycle like a T plus 4, okay? So that's the situation we have at the moment. This was the last analysis. If you liked the video, you can put a like, of course, and you subscribe to it in order to get notified as soon as possible regarding our latest analysis. Thanks for watching and see you to the next episode.